Integrity is more valuable than money. Growth is all about getting to know your genius, exploring your gifts and your talents, building wisdom, building strength, doing difficult things, becoming your heroic self and turning down your egoic self.
Robin Sharma, celebrated leadership expert and advisor to business titans, and one of the most widely read authors in history. His best-selling books, including The 5 a.m. Club, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, and The Everyday Hero Manifesto, have not only inspired individuals, but also guided organizations like Nike, FedEx, Microsoft, and Starbucks towards unparalleled success. Today, Robin joined us to discuss his latest masterpiece, The Wealth Money Can't Buy, a groundbreaking exploration of true wealth beyond material possession for achieving a rich and fulfilling life filled with personal power, authenticity, and deep connections. You really mentored the most financially wealthy, successful people, celebrities, business tycoons. What were the main messages or key lessons, and what are the traps?
The traps are
Welcome back, Alpha Squad, to a new inspiring episode of the Alpha Talks Show, the #1 fastest growing show in the region. Today we have the distinct privilege of hosting a true luminary in the realms of leadership, personal mastery, and humanity. Our Alpha guest today is none other than Robin Sharma, a celebrated leadership expert and advisor to business titans, with over 25 million books sold worldwide in over 92 languages and dialects. Robin Sharma stands as one of the most widely read authors in history. His best-selling books, including The 5 a.m. Club, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, and The Everyday Hero Manifesto, have not only inspired individuals, but also guided organizations like Nike, FedEx, Microsoft, and Starbucks towards unparalleled success. Beyond his accomplishments, Robin Sharma's impact extends to his philanthropic endeavors. He's the founder of the Robin Sharma Foundation for Children, dedicated to helping unprivileged children lead happier and healthier lives. So today, Robin joined us to discuss his latest masterpiece, The Wealth Money Can't Buy, a groundbreaking exploration of true wealth beyond material possession. Through this book, he offers a transformative philosophy and methodology for achieving a rich and fulfilling life filled with personal power, authenticity, and deep connections. So without further ado, let's welcome the legendary Robin Sharma to the Alpha Talks Show. Robin, welcome to the Alpha Talk Show. It's an honor, and I have to tell the guests, the audience, that this is the second time we are recording this episode. The first time we had a technical issue, it couldn't be saved. So I appreciate your time, and I appreciate that you're doing it the second time with us. Thank you, Robin.
Seif, thank you for such a generous introduction, and it's a pleasure to see you again.
Thank you very much. Robin, we have this first question that we opened the episode with, which is when people see the episode published, they see the thumbnail, they see the graphics, the title, they see your name, and they think it's extremely important to watch this episode. What can you promise them to gain if they gave us their time today?
Well, what I hope everyone will gain is a much more powerful and perhaps even wiser understanding of what wealth really is. Our society says that wealth is having a lot of money in the bank, a big stock portfolio, perhaps a big house. Money's important. That's why it's the 5th form of wealth out of the 8 forms of wealth that I teach in the book, The Wealth Money Can't Buy. But there are 7 other forms of wealth, and once people understand them, as you know, you mentioned you're going through the book now, as you understand all 8 forms of wealth, you live a much richer life, happier life, healthier life, and more peaceful one.
And I believe, in a way, it's more important than the money part. Literally, these days, I believe it's much more important.
You know, Seif, I think the world is going through a lot of transformation. Now, you're not saying, and I'm not saying, that money is not important.
Yeah,
money puts food on the family table. It allows us not to be backed into a corner to make choices we don't want to make. It allows us to take care of our family, explore things. So again, it's one of the 5th forms of wealth that I share. Having said that, this world is really changing as a result of the pandemic and the inflation and the wars and all the volatility, and people they're looking for real wealth. They're looking for family connections. They're looking for purpose. They're looking for adventure. They're looking for mastery in their work. And so once we explore these other forms of wealth, I think everything changes for us.
True, true, true. Robin, I'll ask you a personal question because you're a mentor to me.
Sure.
When the episode we couldn't get the recording of the episode, we contacted your team, and your team couldn't reach you for a couple of days. You went off the grid. Can you tell me about this? Like, how do you manage just to go off the grid?
Well, I think if a business or a team requires you there every minute, then it's a very dangerous situation, and the business is very vulnerable. Also, as you know, I speak a lot about leadership. If you're always there to answer every question and you're constantly available, then you'll have a team that's completely dependent on you versus a team of leaders without a title.
True.
And so what I regularly do, and one of the chapters in the book that resonated with you last time, is to go ghost for a year.
True.
And what I regularly do, whether it's a month, whether it's a week, whether it's longer, I mean, this summer I'm going to be going ghost for about 6 weeks, but I do go off the grid. And I'm staying in a little cottage on a vineyard, and I have a bunch of books that have already been sent to the cottage, some of the classics. And what I'll do for 6 weeks is I'll take long walks and I'll read the classics, and I won't be with my phone very much, and I'll reconnect to my values, and I'll write in my journal about what I want the future to look like. And I think if you're always in the world and not away from the world, then you might be spending your best hours climbing a mountain only to realize at the end of a career or a lifetime you climbed the wrong mountains. So it's really important to put away your phone, to get away from the world, so you remove yourself from the noise and can hear the signal.
I love that. And, personally, I believe I need it. After we spoke last time and I went through it in the book, 100% I need it. Thank you, Robin, for sharing this with us. A quick note, before we jump into this episode, I find this incredibly intriguing. On the back end of our YouTube channel, it says around 75% of you who watch this channel frequently over the lifetime of this channel haven't yet hit the subscribe button. I just wanted to ask you for a favor. It helps this channel so much if you choose to just subscribe. It helps us invite guests that give you great value. It helps us scale the production, and as well makes this show bigger and bigger for you. So if I will ask you just one favor, and if you enjoyed the previous episodes and you're currently enjoying this episode, could you please hit the subscribe button? I love your support. It's incredible to see all your comments and engagement, and we are just starting. I can't wait to go on this journey with you. Thank you so much, and I will repay this gesture by making sure that everything we do on this show makes it bigger, and better. I'm committed to do this promise. Do we have a deal? Thank you so much for subscribing. It means the world to me. Robin, you took a year to write this book. A year.
Yes.
Can you tell me what inspired you to write this book, and at this moment of time?
Well, the model in The Wealth Money Can't Buy is called the 8 Forms of Wealth. And it's a model I've been teaching to the billionaires and sports superstars and entertainment royalty that I've been mentoring for the past 15 plus years. And the model was absolutely transformational because a lot of these people have a lot of money, but they're cash rich and their life poor. And so they wanted to live richly, not only have riches. And the model worked so well, I decided a number of years ago to put it into this book. As you mentioned, it took a year of my life to write it. I spent all of last year on it. I rewrote it probably 20 different times.
I can feel it.
Each version
Literally.
of the simplicity is an incredible amount of labor. And so each manuscript, probably 10,000 changes, because I wanted it to be the most valuable, content-rich, simple, inspiring, tactical book that I've ever read. So it took a lot out of me. That's one of the reasons I'm really looking forward to this Going Ghost coming up.
Yeah.
But I think in so many ways, one of my friends said to me when I shared with her how much I suffered to write this book, she said, well, you not only wrote the book wrote you. And what I mean by that is, or what I think she meant by it is, even if I don't sell a copy, and the book has been out about 6 weeks, it's #1 around the world.
Congratulations.
But even if I did, Thank you. But even if I didn't sell a book, may I ask you, is the whole purpose of building to get the trophy, or is it who you become as you build the business or the app or the
100%.
screenplay, right?
Who you
And so
become, true.
it's who you become, and it's going to the jagged edges of your mastery. And even if it's anonymous, I mean, Van Gogh only sold 2 paintings.
True, true,
So
true.
he didn't do it for the fame, fortune, and applause. He did it because he had no choice but to push his magic into the world.
Oof, I love this, Robin. Robin, we now, or in the cultures that we live in, they absolutely define wealth, I believe, and I believe you believe, in a totally unhealthy way. Can you explain this to us? It's only, I believe they only describe it in a way of it's monetary, money in the bank, how you show up, but it's an unhealthy way. Am I correct?
I hear you. I think there are many forms of wealth. You're right. Our culture says, "Oh, this woman is wealthy. This man is rich," and generally, these people are referring to people with millions, if not billions. And I do think our society pedestals the billionaires. On a lot of podcasts, they say, "We have a great guest coming up because it's a billionaire who scaled their business and had a liquidity event." But we don't very often hear, Seif, that we have a gardener coming up who keeps the neighborhood incredible. We have a teacher coming up on the next episode who, with few resources, helps 20 kids see the world through a fresh set of eyes.
True.
I share in the book one of the richest people I ever met. And again, I've 15 plus years, I've mentored many of the richest people in the world, but it was my ski instructor. When I was in my 40s, I came up with this bizarre idea of becoming a ski instructor myself. So I hired a ski instructor, and he was amazing, and he became a good friend. And one day we were going up the chairlift, and he said something to me I've never forgotten. He said, "Robin, us ski instructors are not rich, but we live rich lives."
Who?
And, he has a family who loves him. He was in his 60s and he was super healthy. He taught people how to ski. He was in the mountains and in nature every day. He was in bliss. And so there's a chapter in The Wealth Money Can't Buy, the multi-billionaire in the very empty mansion. And this is a true story where I was invited to mentor this tycoon who you would know. I thought about it for a while, and I decided to go accept the engagement. So I flew to his home country. I went to this area in his home city where there were embassies and incredible homes. I showed up at his home. It's the most incredible house I've ever seen. I was greeted at the door by one of his aides, walked into a living room, past the most incredible art collection you could imagine, led through the house past his indoor car collection, behind a glass wall.
Yeah.
I continued to walk and reached a point where there was another lieutenant who said, "Go down the stairs at the end of the hallway and he's waiting for you. He's in a good mood today. You're going to like the conversation." I went down the stairs. I heard Metallica's "For Whom the Bell Tolls" playing. I could smell cigar smoke at the end of the hallway. I went down the hallway. The door opens and here's the celebrity titan. And for 2 hours, I asked him, "Tell me how you built your fortune." He shared how he did it. He was so fascinated by what he did in business, etc. It was an amazing 2 hours. And then I asked him, I said, "Well, wow, this is incredible. Who do you get to share this with?" Long pause. He said, "I'm all alone." And I think that's a great cautionary tale because our society, makes me think of what Jim Carrey said. "I wish everyone could be rich and famous to realize it doesn't make a difference." And a lot of us think that if we made a million, a decamillion, a billion, our problems would go away. But a lot of people are very rich living in their mansions, but they're very poor because they're all alone and they don't have any happiness.
100%, 100%. Robin, you really mentored the most financially wealthy, successful people, celebrities, business tycoons. What were the main messages or key lessons you extracted from them? And what is important also to know, when they reach all this material success, they become in a trap. What are the traps?
Well, let's start with the traps, and then maybe we can get into some
Yeah.
of the lessons from them in terms of their successes. The traps are money and accomplishment becomes a drug. Now, I must say, Seif, I'm a huge fan of ethical ambition. I think we're meant
Yeah.
to grow. We are the species that created the Sistine Chapel ceiling. We are the species that created the Burj Al Khalifa. We are the
True.
species that created the great monuments of the Taj Mahal or Rembrandt's beautiful paintings. But I think ambition should not be how you define yourself in the world. I think ambition should be joyful and enthusiastic for the sake of pushing magic into the world and getting to know your gifts and your talents. Unfortunately, a lot of people have a deep hole within them. A lot
True.
of the billionaires I've mentored, they had very difficult and traumatic childhoods. They weren't enough for mommy or daddy. And so there's a subconscious hole they're trying to fill through achievement and worldly success. Ultimately, it might sound strange, not to you, you're a wise man, but a lot of these billionaires and super achievers, they're just looking for love. And and
Correct.
so
Yeah.
so one of the traps is they keep on going, and often they lose their health along the way, and it becomes a drug. Another trap is they are so busy getting worldly things, they miss out on their inner joys. I mean, building the first form of wealth and the wealth money can't buy. Our society doesn't see it as a form of riches, but personal growth and building intimacy with your genius and your talents and your strengths and your gifts and building wisdom is a form of wealth. And so a lot of these people are so externally focused, they miss out on the inner gifts.
Correct. Robin, I think this is the first time I'm gonna say it in public ever, and only my fiance knows this. Like part of my life, when I started to focus so much on collecting wealth, monetary wealth, which for example, say like this month I will make 10, next month I need 20, third month I need 30, 40, 50. My life was destroyed at the end because I was absolutely blinded. My focus on this, my relationship was destroyed, everything gone away, literally, besides the money. And with money and nothing around you, it is actually no wealth. So I 100% resonate with this.
There's a story in the book about Eugene O'Kelly. He was the CEO of KPMG, the global accounting behemoth. And one day he went into his doctor's office to get the results of a medical. And the doctor came back with an expression you never want to see on your doctor's face. And the doctor said to him, essentially, you have 90 days left to live. You have an inoperable brain tumor. True story. And so what he did was, confronted with his mortality, he made some very huge realizations. He realized in all his years as a corporate titan, he had never taken his wife to lunch even once. He'd missed out on many Christmas concerts with his daughter. He had not taken long walks with his great friends in Central Park. And so in his last 90 days, he decided to do something I find very fascinating. He decided to re-engineer the last 3 months of his life to be what he called a perfect moment creator. And so he literally architected his day so he would create perfect moments, not only for the people he loved and his friends, but for himself. And I think, look, I want to be really clear. The fifth form of wealth in the book is money. There's 25 chapters on the habits of the billionaires, and I want to make sure we get back to the traits of the billionaires. So remind me, please, so we bring that value to your listeners and readers from around the world. But a lot of people, what they do is they have been programmed by society to think that being rich means you have to have a lot of money and a lot of things. And that's created this hustle and grind culture, which is putting so much pressure on people to have a lot of money, to have the right handbags, and to be in the right restaurants, and to always be hustling your way. And there's nothing wrong with having nice things. Having said that, allow them to be your servants and not your master. And so there are these other 7 forms of wealth that are incredibly important for you to live your richest life.
Okay, we reached this point now. What are the other forms? Can you just give us a brief about each and every one so people really see, like, what are the forms?
Yes, so the first form of wealth is growth. So that is definitely a form of wealth that money can't buy. Integrity is more valuable than money. Growth is all about getting to know your genius, exploring your gifts and your talents, building wisdom, building strength, doing difficult things, becoming your heroic self and turning down your egoic self. Second form of wealth, wellness. So in one wisdom tradition, they say when we are young, we would sacrifice all of our health for wealth. And when we get old and wise, we would sacrifice all of our wealth for one day of great health. You know, I know the region that you live in, and I was in Qatar a number of years ago. Someone handed me a piece of paper. I read it that evening. It said, health is the crown on the well person's head that only the ill person can see. Third form of wealth. Family. You know, as I get more years under my belt, I realize if you have a happy home life, no drama, a great partner, a great family and friends, you have a form of riches and a currency that's worth more than any gold in the bank could ever buy. Fourth form of wealth is mastery. We live in a world right now where hard work and caring about your job has a bad reputation. But doing your work, whatever it is, pursuing mastery, pushing magic into the marketplace, is a form of wealth. The fifth form of wealth is money. The sixth form of wealth is your social network. You become your conversations. Seventh form of wealth is adventure. Eighth form of wealth is service and memento mori, remembering that you will die, life is short, get in the game right now.
Wow. Robin, if I ask you a direct question, are there priorities in these forms, or we should pursue each and every with the same type of, I would say, same type of hunt?
You know what it's an excellent question. I would say it depends on the person and it depends on the season. And what I would say is some people feel alive when they are doing their work like Picasso painted. So the fourth form of wealth might be important. These people also might relationships and communities very important. So the social network one might be important. Other people having a cause and a mission is incredibly important. So the eighth form of wealth, but it also depends on your season. Often when you're in your 20s and your 30s, the fifth form of wealth, money, let's say the first form of wealth, personal growth, those might be more important. As you age, it might be family even more important.
Correct.
And maybe as you get older, it's the eighth form of wealth, which is service. You know, when I was growing up, my dad, who's now 86, I had a great conversation with him last night. And he used to say to me, Robin, when you were born, you cried while the world rejoiced. Live your life in such a way that when you die, the world cries while you rejoice. But often, it's only when we get older that we connect with the shortness of life, because our days are more numbered, that we realize the importance of living for things other than ourselves.
I love that. Part of the book, there are something called the 10,000 dinners questions. What are they?
Yes, so this is in the third form of wealth, which is family. And I came across this story where one of the top divorce lawyers in the UK, Ayesha Vardag, was interviewed, and she was asked by the journalist, you know, you've seen so many divorces, would you please tell me what you think are the lessons for a great relationship? And not because the chapter right before this in The Wealth Money Can't Buy is your choice of mate determines 90% of your joy. So house is full of drama. You're not going to be creative, productive, and great with clients and your team. So she replied and she said, number one, separate bedrooms. And number two, she said, the key to a great relationship, 10,000 dinners. And the journalist asked, well, you know, what do you mean by 10,000 dinners? And I thought this was profound. She said, well, if you can see yourself having, she said, looks fade, lust can dissolve, but if you see yourself having 10,000 dinners with this person, keep them close, because great love is hard to find.
Oof. 100% resonate with this. Robin, I want to circle back to the ghost for a year. it's not a year in general, it's a particular period of time. Can you please explain the value of this to people? Because really we are in a like a hamster wheel. Everybody's running, doesn't understand the importance of, I would say, disappearing, ghosting for a period of time. What does it give the people?
Well, first thing I would say is a genius loves solitude. If you're with your phone all day long, if you're always in meetings, if you're going, you are never going to go into flow state. The flow state is where your brain shifts from beta down to alpha down to theta. And often this happens when you're alone and often connected with nature. That's why often we get our best ideas out in the desert or taking a shower or having a nature walk. So it's really important to take time for solitude and stillness. And that's part of what Going Ghost is in the book. One of the chapters is find your personal golden eye. So James Bond's creator, Ian Fleming, bought this cottage by the sea where he would go to retreat from the world to write his James Bond books. I mean, he realized the importance of getting away from distraction so you could get in a flow state where you get your best ideas. So that's one reason it's important. Genius loves solitude. Secondly, our inspiration is like a well. And if all you're doing is working, your well runs dry. You've got to refill the well. Thirdly, according to the science, on an average day, the average human being is spending 4.7 hours on their phones. At the end of 1 year, that's about 3 months on your phone. If you are just spending your days in trivial pursuits, you're missing out on a lot of life. So that chapter, Go Ghost for a Year, is a challenge. Take a year where you go to Vietnam, or you go to Tokyo, or you go to Medellin, or you go to Sweden. Rent a little cottage, read the classics, learn to meditate, get really fit, and then return to your life born anew. And if you can't do it for a year, do it for a month. If you can't do it for a month, do it for a week. But even a weekly sabbatical could transform the way that you live.
100% resonate with this, Robin. Robin, there is part also in the book that talks about wealth words. There are wealth words and there is not wealth words. But what are the wealth words? And what can you give us examples as well?
Well, I'll give you let's call it an anti-example.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of us use words of poverty, words of victimhood. You hear so many people saying, I can't. I encourage people in this book to be a possibilitarian. And it sounds very simple, but victims, you can spot them a mile away because they use the language of victimhood versus leadership. Victims use words like, I can't. I'm sick of this. It's not possible. If you look at our culture, it almost programs us for victimhood. We say, I like those shoes. They're sick kicks. I don't want to be sick. I want to be healthy. You hear people say, hey, Seif, you did an amazing episode on that podcast of yours that everyone loves. That was crazy how well you did. No, it's not crazy. It's preparation. It's thoroughness. It's hard work. It's research. It's practice. So rather than using these words of can't, use the words of can't, of possibility. So in The Wealth Money Can't Buy, there's 50 words that are words that will help you re-script your self-identity, because the deeper point is your income and impact always reflects your self-identity. Your personal story determines your daily behavior. You can read about the 5 a.m. club, you can read about the hacks, you can read about the beliefs of wealth and possibility. But if your self-identity subconsciously is saying you don't deserve to have a world-class life, then you're not going to ask for the right fee. You're not going to seize opportunity. You're not going to ask for the love you want. You're not going to take care of your health. You're not going to be self-disciplined, because deep inside you're at war. You're at war with your highest ideals and the way that you see yourself. So words rescript and reshape your self-identity.
I love that, Robin. Just a couple of quick concepts from the book also. I love them. When you said do something scary every, I would say, couple of months. Why do you say this? Because to get the people outside of the comfort zone to be always ready to get outside of their comfort zone, or what is the thing behind this?
Well, we don't see it's a core psychological point. We don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. We wake up every day and we think we see the truth. We think we see reality. That's not true. We see the world through a filter, a perceptual filter that's made up of the programs and the beliefs that we've adopted from the world. And so by doing difficult things and what I call in the book my acts of micro bravery, you don't always have to do incredibly huge things like climb a mountain or go out, find the love of your life or do launch the most difficult business. Sometimes it's micro bravery. It's like a tiny act of courage. But what that does, and I think this is a powerful point, each time you do something you're terrified or sort of scared to do, you introduce yourself to a new version of reality. So a great example is Roger Bannister. Before Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile barrier, they thought that if a human being ran a mile in under 4 minutes, they would disintegrate.
True.
But not only did he do it, in the weeks and months afterwards, many people
did the same, broke the records.
They did a sub 4-minute mile. And so that act of doing what the world said was impossible, introduced him as well as other people to a completely new version of reality. I mean, we are only perceiving a very small sense of the reality out there. And so why do I say do small, difficult things? It's because our job as leaders and heroes of our own lives is to constantly shatter our previous version of reality. And the way you do that is micro bravery.
And I love it, micro bravery. You don't need to be Tarzan just something small gets you outside of your comfort zone. Robin, what is the closest chapter to you in this book or form, and from where it got inspired?
Oh, what a great question. I've been on this book tour for 4 months, and that's the first time I've been asked that question. I would say, well, I love the chapter about that time my mother took on a motorcycle gang, because I think it's very moving to me and it's very powerful. I think the chapter, well, I think the chapter about have a living funeral is very important, because it reminds us of memento mori. Remember, we will die. I think what we often do is we postpone living safe. We postpone building a great family life. We postpone. I think we postpone dancing barefoot in a park after a rainstorm. We postpone having a conversation with our father or a mentor or a mother or a best friend. And so that chapter about having a living funeral, where you invite your family and your friends and you get a great cake and you listen to what they say about you as if, and how you've lived, and you tell them how much you love them and what they mean to you and how you will have wished you will have lived on your deathbed is a powerful exercise.
True.
So I think, I have a big birthday coming up. It's a milestone birthday. And all I can tell you is life is incredibly...
When is it, Robin? When is it?
It is next week.
Next week. Okay.
It's next week, Seif. And again, I don't get too hung up on birthdays, because I call them driver's license ages, because that's just the age society tells you are. And it's a very dangerous thing, because if you believe that age and it's an older age, then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you stop moving and you stop getting up at 4 a.m. and you stop, and you think about retiring, and I think retiring is the kiss of death, because you stop moving and often you can lose a sense of purpose, and then you let an old person into your body. So, but as I get older, I do realize, the days are more numbered, even though my goal is to live to 101 healthily, but you do start to connect with your mortality. And that's not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, because it causes you to live with a sense of urgency. It causes you to stop postponing. It causes you to tell your family how much you love them. It causes you to say to yourself, my customers put food on my table. I better work with love and serve them greatly.
Oof, I love that, Robin. And if I ask Robin, what success means to you?
It's the 8 forms of wealth, right there in the book. It's I mean, ultimately what drives me is I want to help as many people as possible. And, my life changed a number of years ago when I stood in Nelson Mandela's prison cell. And it's a bit of a long story, so I'll just summarize it very quickly and say that I met the guide who was showing me around Robin Island. And I asked him, I said, "Did you know Nelson Mandela?" He said, "I served with him for 7 years." And he said, "I was in the ANC." And I said, "What was Nelson Mandela like?" And he went like this. He went, "Oh, that man was a humble servant."
Whew.
And so I could talk about family, I could talk about wellness, I could talk about growth, I could talk about mastery, those 8 forms of wealth and the wealth money can't buy. But the 8th form of wealth means the most to me, I think, which is to be a humble servant and help as many people as possible. Because I think, to contribute is real leadership. But also, if you want true joy that lasts, much better than a watch or a handbag,
True.
it's commit yourself to lifting people up versus tearing them down, and you'll find the benefit for you is you wake up with a great sense of mission and joy and energy.
I love that, and I love the story. Robin, we are in the Alpha Talks show. How do you define an alpha from Robin's perspective?
Wow. Well, I think the world defines an alpha like often someone who's very fit, and maybe quite muscular in the gym and a hustling grinder and someone who leads the room and leads the field. And that's wonderful. And that's one form of alphahood.
Yeah.
To me, a true alpha, part warrior and part saint.
Ooh, the yin
I
yang
think
kinda.
I think an alpha is unbeatable. You have a relentless mission. You get knocked down 7 times. You get up 8. You find your way to yes. You do the impossible. You are excellent, and you are a warrior. And you get up at 5 a.m. I had to give that bonus point. But
Yeah.
a real alpha is also a saint. You are so strong that you are humble. You are so confident you speak in whispers. You are so faithful to your ideals, you talk less and deliver more. You are so committed to your mighty mission that you are the most honest, decent, noble, of service person in every room. Part warrior, part saint. If you live like that, I think then you enter the secret orbit of the great ones who walk quietly but deliver at mastery.
Robin, I love the definition. I really love the definition. Half warrior, half saint. Love that. Robin, we have a very quick fire questions. So I'll ask you very quick questions. Are you ready for that?
Sure.
So what's your favorite time of the day to write?
8 o'clock to 1 o'clock.
Ooh, the morning times. What's the most unusual habit in your daily routine that contributes to your success?
Rising at 4 a.m. and spending 45 minutes in what I call in my methodology MVP, meditation, visualization, and prayer. And secondly, and I share this, I know it's quick, but to bring value for your followers, in my journal, I call this the 5-question morning maximizer. I ask myself 5 questions and I answer them very quickly. Number 1, what am I grateful for? Number 2, where am I winning? Number 3, what will I let go of today? Number 4, what does my ideal day ahead look like? And number 5, what needs to be said about me at the end?
Oof. Wow. What is the most surprising thing you've learned about yourself through your journey?
How strong I am.
Do you have a daily motto you live by? Or a mantra?
Sounds very simple, but I call this first thought positive. As soon as you get up, you want to say something positive to yourself. It sets the tone for your day. So I just go, this will be a great day. I mean, it's that simple.
It's gonna be
a great day.
I will make it happen. One word to describe your leadership style.
Macro.
Oh, macro. Ooh.
Macro. I constantly in my journaling write about my mission and my future so that my days are strategic towards my mountaintop versus being busy, being busy.
I love that. Can you describe yourself in 3 words?
A humble servant. That's my hope.
Wow, I love that. I love that. The last, not like before last, a question that is important in the Alpha Talk show. When you ask me any question, and I really want a question from you to me, any kind of question.
Okay, if I could ask you 1 or 2, that would be great.
Yeah, whatever.
What is the best lesson life has taught you?
To be humble. I passed through a period in my life that my ego was very, very high because I was super successful in a very young age. I was super blinded and made me lose a lot of the people who really cared about me, supported me on my way up. So whatever I do now, I try to humble as much as possible and not focus on the monetary gain from what I'm doing versus the period before. That's a great lesson. I even had some, I will not say problems, but some issues with my family because really I was totally blinded.
If you were stranded on a desert island and you had to be there for a year, aside from food and water, etc., what 3 books would you bring with you on that island?
3 books. Awaken the Giant Within, Tony Robbins. Start with Why. And the 5 a.m. Club.
Wow. Thank you for that.
Really?
Last question. Who would you be if you did not know? And for your audience, I mean, this is just spontaneous, so this is pretty amazing. Who would you be if you did not know who you were?
I believe I'm gonna be either a policeman or a pilot.
Wow.
Very different than what I'm doing.
Wow. Intuitively, Seif. My sense says it's pilot.
A pilot.
You'd be a great pilot. I think so. I think so. And I want to be. I don't know who you're going to fly for. If it's Emirates, I want to be on your Dreamliner.
Thank you very much, Robin. Really, really appreciate it. And what will be the last message you want to leave the audience with today?
One of the 8 forms of wealth. Please discover and then step by step, day by day, start living the 8 forms of wealth. It'll transform the way that you create, produce, live, and give you a truly rich life.
I totally support that, and I will leave in the description all the details about the book, and I believe all my followers will be hungry to read this book because even I'm half through, it really made a big impact. And thank you very much for being with us today, Robin. It's an honor and it's a pleasure, and I really look forward to meet you in person, either in Dubai or anywhere. I look forward to that.
I do as well, Seif. Really a joy to chat with you again, and let's find a time to meet.
Thank you very much. That wraps another inspiring episode of today's show. I hope that this episode has ignited your inner alpha and left you feeling inspired, motivated, and ready to conquer any challenge that comes your way. Remember, alphas aren't born, they're made. It isn't about dominating others, it's about embracing your authenticity, leading with integrity, and making a positive impact on the world. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the Alpha Talks on your favorite podcast platform. Leave us a review and share the podcast with your fellow alphas. Also connect with us on social media at Seif Al Hakim. Share your thoughts, insight, and stories of personal and business growth with us. Let's create a movement of alphas supporting one another. The world needs more alphas like you exactly. Until next time, stay bold, stay driven, and stay alpha.